Welcome to the second video in this series dedicated to menu UI. This video is dedicated to how buttons work, how we can interact with things. It follows directly from the last video, so if you haven't seen that, please check it out now. In that video, we attached a listener to the start button to listen out for a click, send a message to the console, and finally set the active of the button to false, so make the button disappear. Click the button on screen to find out more, and all the code is in the gist in the video description in that video as well. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do in this tutorial is create an options screen menu. Here's mine. The only options I can think to put in at this point is to turn subtitles on and off, but I will be putting more in as the game progresses. The first thing I'm going to do is change the options screen from being in front of the bus to behind the bus. So I've manually positioned the main camera to be behind the bus, so I know where to put my menu UI. In the hierarchy, I'm going to create a new game object and call this options menu. I'm going to add a UI text component underneath options menu, and this is going to say subtitles. So I've assigned it a custom font. I'm going to change the color from black to white, and I'm going to move the font size up to 20. Now, don't forget, if you get it caught off, you want to change vertical overflow to be not wrap, but overflow, because that often causes me an issue. So with the subtitles text done, I'm going to create an on-off button for subtitles. I'm going to start with one button, get it right. When it is right, copy it and have it as the subtitles false button. So I'm starting with subtitles true. I've copied the options button under the main menu because, that button was working fine. And I'm just going to change the text here. So I've put it also underneath the options menu game object. And I made especially sure in the inspector to change it from options to subtitle true. This is important because that's how we'll reference it in our script. Finally, I changed the width of the button so it's a bit smaller. Okay, so now I'm going to copy and paste subtitle true button to make subtitle false and do the exact same thing, and then start positioning them around the screen where I want them on the scene. So I've repositioned my options menu. This is how I want it set out. I, for some reason, moved the main camera back to the front of the bus. Ignore that. Okay, so this is what I'm going to be coding. If I click on options, it's going to flick to the options menu. So let's get coding. First thing we're going to do is add a listener to listen out for clicks on the option button. It's exactly what we did on the start button, so nothing new here. And that's going to send a message to the console. Next, I'm going to define two game objects, main menu and options menu, and they're going to find the game objects in the hierarchy called main menu and options menu. And just to remind you, those are the two game objects that our menu UI sits within. So with the main menu and option menu parent objects defined, we can hide them. So they need to be unhidden in the project view, and then we can hide them through code by going set active false. So we've written that in the start function of the script, so when we play the scene, options menu will be set active to false, so it'll be hidden. So when we click the options button, we want set active to be true, to show the options menu. Don't forget to comment your code, as that's always important to do. So when we click the options menu button, not only are we showing the options menu, set active true, but we're changing main menu to set active false. We're also going to put main menu set active false under the onclick listener for the start button. So when you click the start button, new game and options disappears. We won't show that, but if you click options, then you'll take into your options page, just like this. Last little bit of menu UI. When you click on subtitle false, I want it to be highlighted so it's false, and then when you click on true, the box highlights true again. So in my main menu script, I'm going to find these two game objects. So I'm going to go game object equals game object.find subtitle false, and I need to make sure that the subtitle false between the quotation marks is the same spelled as in the inspector. So I'm just going to flick over and check the spelling. So I'm going to correct that, and then I'm going to copy the entire game object and create a new game object for subtitle true, which is looking for the game object subtitle true. Now I need to create a onclick listener for subtitle false and subtitle true. I'll start with subtitle false, and within the onclick listener function, I'll just send a message to the console saying subtitles off. Now this won't actually work because I put an onclick listener on a game object. At the beginning of the start function, I defined start button as a .getComponent button. So I need to put subtitle false .getComponent button to get the button component, and then a click listener can go on that. Now I'm going to do exactly the same, copy and paste to get a click listener for subtitle true. Okay, so let's click play, and we've got some errors. Okay, you want to make sure you're using semicolons, not full colons, at the ends of your lines. Anyone new to code, semicolon is sort of like a full stop, a way of issuing an order. You need to have it at the end of every line of code. Anyway, if I click options, I click the true button, I'm going to get subtitles on, false. In the console, I'm going to get subtitles off. Next thing we want to do is access this image component under the subtitle false, subtitle true game objects, because that deselects and selects the button. For subtitle false, the image component should be off, so it looks like this. Let's put that in code. So under options set active false, we're going to put subtitle false .get component image and set that to false. We're also going to set subtitle to false when we click on subtitle true. So that's just a copy and paste job. And finally, when you click subtitle false, subtitle true is deselected. So that's just copying and pasting subtitle false and changing everything to true. Make sure you're commenting more frequently than I am. I'm not being very consistent, and good code is always readable by other people. So when we start game and we click on the options button to take us to the subtitles menu, we can flick between subtitles true and false. At this point in time, just looking at graphics and UI. Now we're going to do something with this start game button. Right, so I've artificially created myself a problem that could be very easily fixed by renaming one of these buttons from start game. But in the minute, I have two start game buttons. I have one in the main menu and one in the options menu. And more importantly, they don't do the same thing because they trigger off different animations. But I know one start game button is a child object of the main menu, and the one we want to look at is a child object of the options menu. And for that, we need to use a transform. So options menu.transform, find start game, and then .get component button, because we want to treat this as a button. Then below we add a listener for an onclick, just as we have done with all our other buttons. And all we're going to do here is send a message for the console, which will animate in the next chapter. But before that, let's just test everything's working. So play the scene. A new game should send a console message, options, and then finally start game. That should send another console message. Perfect. So we're done with code, and in the next video, we will be putting in animations. We're not really done with code. We need to trigger those animations, but we've got all the listeners ready for that. We just need to put those triggers in the right place, and we'll create those funky little animations. So that was the one to start game, and we'll finally also create one for options menu, going to the back of the bus. Finally, once we're here, if you click start game, we've got that all set up now. If you click start game, we go into the back of the bus. So that's the next video.